Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Trendy with Kim Allison. And today, you guys, I am super excited to welcome a guest who's been on the front lines of the GLP-1 wave since the very beginning. Her name is Angela, and Angela, you're going to have to pronounce your last name for me because I'm going to destroy it. We'll do that at the end. Angela, she was one of the first people to start using Monjaro back in 2022, you guys. And that was long before most of us even knew what the drug was. We're going to talk about today what her experience was like, the changes she saw, what she learned along the way, and more importantly, where she's at with it today. So,
Okay.
are you ready to be inspired, everyone? Angela, welcome to the show.
Thank you. So my name is Angela Macropolis. It's a kind of a long story. I can't believe it's been 3 years since this story began. So let me give you background and context, and then you can ask me more personal questions like how old, what did you weigh, blah, blah. But let me give you the big arc. And actually, I was introduced to Kim because she follows a cosmetic and medical dermatologist that lives in and practices in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I had
Mhm.
just come back from Scottsdale for a treatment, which we may touch upon because it relates in some part
Yeah.
to the GLP story.
Dr. Law, by the way, he's going to come on the show at some point. So that's
Right.
pretty cool.
His
Yeah.
name is Dr. Curran Lal, and he's located in Scottsdale, Arizona, but he's originally from New York. And
Hmm.
actually, he's originally from Queens, New York. And I met him when he was a fellow in the New York metro area. And the reason why I raise his name, when I met him and I started on a skincare journey, at the time, I was extremely, in my mind, overweight. I was morbidly obese, and were talking casually, and he said that a friend of his had gone to a weight loss center near my home. And so I had just blithely made an appointment in the summer of 2022, in June of 2022, to go to this weight loss center, again, about 5 miles from my house. And when I went in there, the physician's assistant said, well, we have this drug that has been recently FDA approved for non-diabetic weight loss, and it's called Mounjaro. And there has been this drug, Ozempic and Wegovy, but Mounjaro is a different type of drug because it's GLP-1 and 2, because it's tirzepatide, not the GLP-1, which is Ozempic and Wegovy. And most people at this point, 3 years in, know the difference if they've done
Hmm.
any research in this area. He asked me, the PA asked me, do you want to try it? Because I literally had gone to the weight loss center expecting that they were going to put me on either phentermine, which was once part of the fen complex, or put me on shakes, neither of which have been successful for me for various reasons, which we may be able to get into. I was game for this. I will also say, as a matter of background, and I'm going to give you a little bit more about what Monjaro was in 2022. Before that, in 2019 or 2020, I think it was 2019, I had been on Saxenda. Saxenda still
Huh.
exists, and it is I believe it's a GLP-1. The difference was that you had to take it every day. I had tried it for about a month, and it made me really nauseous. So when he said, "Do you want to try this GLP tirzepatide?" I signed up for it,
Hmm.
in part because Eli Lilly, which is the competitor to Novartis,
Hmm.
which makes Ozempic and Wegovy, was giving a $25 coupon for 4 pens if you had private health insurance, which I did. So I thought, okay, I'm going to try this. And I started it the week after 4th of July, in July 2022. And over the course of a year, and we'll talk about my tips, my impressions, I lost
Hmm.
over 50 pounds, a total of
Wow.
53 pounds. So I can give you my starting weight. You can do the math. My starting weight at the time was 217 pounds. My BMI was 35. My A1C was 5.9. So Was I morbidly obese? I think so. I know that the A1C was disturbing and very borderline to diabetic. And my glucose, I think around that time was 120. So I never was on Ozempic. I never was on Wegovy. I've never been on either one of them. And then I moved to ZepBound when Monjaro was prohibited for non-diabetics. I have been off the medication now for more than 6 months. Unfortunately, my employer, which was not the same employer as I had at the time that I went on Monjaro, no longer covers GLPs of any sort for non-diabetics. That has been an unfortunate element of this story, because one of the real gaps in using GLPs is the maintenance protocol, because quite frankly, there is no maintenance protocol. There's none that's really been developed. People are haphazard about it. There's entire Reddit subreddits on maintenance. What is maintenance and how do you get there? So I had to kind of move you from 22 to 25. I lost the weight in a year. I have maintained within 10 pounds that weight loss. I am committed to maintaining a 50-pound weight loss. I never broke beyond the 53 pounds. And I think my body just said, we're here and we're settling. But there are other things I've done to improve my overall health and maintain my weight regardless of the pens. I've never taken a compound. I probably will never take compounding.
Is the trizepatide compound though, like
But
semaglutide?
you can get it
And
compounded. Absolutely, you
okay,
can.
got you. Can you tell us, for those that just have no understanding, like someone like myself, the difference between those two, a compounded versus what you took?
Okay, so I took the actual medication as created and manufactured by Eli Lilly. Then beginning, I believe, in 20 late 23, I went to ZepBound. And ZepBound and Mounjaro are the same medication. They're just titrated differently, because one's titrated for diabetics who will maintain that medication or be on that medication presumably for the rest of their lives, and the other one is for weight loss. So
Got you, because that was the little gap. Diabetics were running out of their supply,
right,
so they had to, shift to the compounded meds until they could catch up to supply and demand, and then they made it two different versions of
right,
the same drug, one for
right,
diabetics, one for
right.
weight loss management. Okay, got you.
I always shared what I was doing with my friends and family. I didn't
Okay,
announce
yeah,
it on social media, but people
yeah,
knew and I never hid
yeah.
it. And I call myself a little bit of an evangelist because I've had a weight issue of some degree for most of my life, or most of my adult life, not as a child. And I felt very strongly about the benefits of this medication versus other things I had taken in my life.
Let's back up for 1 second.
Okay.
So, thank you so much, too, for that intro. That's perfect. I think you had a very healthy relationship with wanting to try the medication and all the reasons why. Were you concerned at all about side effects? Because when they list the side effects, some of them sound pretty serious.
The largest concern I had or ever have had is twofold. One, I have Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So that means I have an underactive thyroid. I also have nodules. They're
Hmm.
not cancerous. I do get examined by an endocrinologist and have been for over 20 years. So there is a quote risk for medullary thyroid cancer. My mother had Hashimoto's thyroiditis also. She never had cancer. So when I initially went on the drug, I was concerned about it. My endo talked about it, and we monitor for my nodules and the growth of my nodule, the multiplication of my nodules and whether they've gotten enlarged, just as I would regardless of whether I took the medication or not.
Hmm.
So that was number one. And number two, there had been people complaining about pancreatitis,
Hmm.
and having such bad pancreatitis that they had to be hospitalized. That never happened to me. But overall, in terms of the dramatic stuff, the dramatic complications or concerns. Those were the two. Neither one happened, but I was willing to take the gamble.
Yeah, good. Okay. I understand that and it sounds like it worked out for you, which
It
is
did.
amazing. Congratulations for that. Did you ever feel, like we were talking about, you did a nice introduction to the shame and embarrassment, and you spoke about being open to everyone in your life who matters to you about it. But what were your thoughts just hearing all the chatter around the shame in the beginning?
It was funny. I do have, oh God, she may watch this some point. I have a cousin. She's my closest cousin. She's older than me by 12 years, and she is an exercise, uh,
Fanatic.
she's an exercise maniac. She continues to this day with the argument that I never needed to do it. And I could have done it. And I'm going to tell you the backdrop to that. I could have done it only through exercise, and I didn't never needed this drug. And why and why. She was the only one who I think really voiced it. The link between that is that she continues to do Orange Theory Fitness 6 days a week. I've been doing Orange Theory since 2019. I did Orange Theory when I was over 200 pounds. Yes, is it a healthy exercise? Is it good fun to do? Is it efficient? Absolutely. But do I believe that I would have taken this weight off doing Orange Theory alone? Absolutely not. But I do have very strong opinions on how best this tool, which is what I consider it, works. And you need to have exercise in your life. And I have since 2019, but more recently in the last 3 years, at the same time I went on GLPs, I was lifting weights, and I love lifting, and I believe in it. And I think it's essential on multiple fronts. But going back to the shame thing, I had people say to me, do you feel responsible for the shortages of other people when they needed it? And I'm like, well, talk to Eli Lilly and Novartis. Because to be perfectly blunt, I think the two companies were warring with each other. I don't think coming out of the gate in the summer of 2022 that Eli Lilly was prepared. They had been in trials for like a couple of years, but I don't think that they were prepared for the success and the
Mhm.
immediate success and the immediate demand. So of course they're competing against Novartis, which manufactures the other two. And now Eli's coming out. It'll probably be by the end of 26 or early 27. I forget the proper pronunciation of the name, but Retrotride. It's another drug that has like 3 GLPs, and it also handles fatty liver. And by the way, I had fatty liver going into this medication, and I no longer have
Mhm.
fatty liver, which is a
Ama
huge, huge, huge benefit. So yeah, I got some of it. I got some of it on Instagram. I just said, go back to the companies because, there are a lot of people of various weight challenges who are being successful on this drug. Don't come at us. Come to them and say, why aren't you producing more? Yeah, but I was never one of these people that needed to lose 10 pounds or 15. I
Mhm.
was,
Mhm.
objectively speaking, at least 30 pounds overweight. And now,
Yes.
even at the weight I'm at, I'm normal. I am not thin, but I am a normal person. And so in women's clothing, I'm a 10, mostly 10, 12. I am not an 8. I am not a 6. I will never be a 2 or a 4. Because
Yeah, I like to hear that because I could be a combination of what you just said versus who your cousin was in your weight loss journey. Because I'm one that's always worked out, tried to, manage my eating, all the things. And for friends that may be overweight, I'm the one, oh, try diet and exercise, yada yada. Kim, you don't understand because you don't deal with weight, blah, 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 blah. Until I had my last week's guest, GLP-1 nurse, pretty, explain to me, just educate me on all of the benefits of GLP-1s. It's not just the weight loss, and you don't necessarily have to have a high BMI to be on the drug. To your point, fatty liver, you can be 110 pounds and have a fatty liver.
right,
You can have high cholesterol. You can have
right.
all of these things that the drug is going to help mitigate. So there's so many benefits. We went right to aesthetics and it became all about the aesthetic piece. And
Right.
some of your friends that may work out and hit the gym or what have you, you know, a little bit of it was competition, you know, like if they're
Well,
being
I
honest.
I never well, she was giving me examples of people that she knew. She doesn't live in New York, she lives in Texas, and
Hmm.
she was giving me examples of people that she knew who just did it by Orange Theory alone. I will
Yes.
tell you that for me, the thing that hit immediately is I don't stress eat. I'll tell you a funny story. So I literally didn't think about food, but I always ate healthy. I did eat things I wanted. I had no metallic taste in my mouth, and I enjoyed my taste buds worked. And that was hugely different than fen. My husband is thin. He won't think of
Hmm.
himself as thin, but I think he's thin. And so in the first 6 months of me being on the drug, remember it's the summertime, and it was loving. Don't you can it may come off not, but it was loving. He makes really good ice cream sundaes. And so
Hmm.
he'd make this tremendous ice cream sundae that we would share. And then historically we would share that. And he'd make this ice cream sundae and he had bananas and syrup and the whole thing. And he'd take whatever he wanted to eat and then he'd pass it over to me. And I literally would take one, like maybe 2 teaspoons or tablespoons, and I'd say, I'm done. I don't need any more. And he would do that periodically. And it was like he had his, like, it was like an aha moment for him. Like, what is going on here? Why is she not like grabbing for this? And I didn't.
It took the not necessarily the craving, but it gave you an off switch. Whereas
Correct.
before there was no off
Correct.
switch.
Yep.
Ah, interesting. Because, you know, I like that you're able to kind of bust the myths because some of the things that I was hearing was it completely turned something off in your brain that even told you you were hungry in the first place. And that doesn't sound healthy. But you're
No.
saying all it did was kind of regulate the way you process food in your body, and that I'm full, I'm done with it, I can have a bite and walk away. Let's go back to something you talked about because you gave a great testimonial, like I said, on how you were introduced to the drug, why you took the drug, and catching us up to now that you've been able to keep the weight off, fluctuating 10 pounds. Is that what you
Yep.
said? For the
Yeah.
last 6 months.
Yep. And it's hard.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It like the 50-pound mark is my mark.
So, can we back up to 6 months ago? What was that first month like for you
Off the drug.
off the drug?
You can confirm this with, I don't know if you did confirm this with the nurse, but there is empirical evidence to suggest that the drug, depending upon your dosage too, and we can talk about dosages, stays in your system for about 3 weeks, at least two, but possibly 3 weeks post injection. What I noticed most was the impulse eating. And to this day, it's the challenge. I work full time and I work at home. And if I took a break and went downstairs from the office and downstairs to my kitchen, I'm more likely to grab
Mm-hmm.
something
Mm-hmm.
mindlessly. And now I have to be conscious of grabbing the fruit or the water and
Mm-hmm.
keeping things out of my refrigerator and pantry that are
Mm-hmm.
problematic.
When you started taking the drug, the way you were eating before, what changed once
Change?
you started
Okay.
taking the
And
drug?
so actually that's a good point because that's been consistent. The most primary thing that I have will hang on to, started and will always hang on to is the inclusion of protein in your diet. Protein, and more protein. I've always been a vegetable eater. That has never been an issue for me, but I'm a big carb eater.
That
But
makes sense. And your lifestyle, it sounds like you travel, you do all these things
well, I don't travel
on.
that much, but lately I have, and because of that, when I was first on the medication 3 years ago, and I was traveling, we have family in Virginia, and when I was traveling to Virginia, I literally took the pens with me. People on YouTube talk about how to carry the pens, how to keep them refrigerated. Now there were sleeves before, I had ice.
Fill me in on that because, again, I know nothing about these drugs other than what I learned in my interview last week. What is the process of taking these drugs? You have 4 pens. Is that a
It's
four
once a
times a
week,
day, once
once
a
a
week?
week.
So that's a month's supply.
Correct.
I see.
It's
Okay.
best to inject on one day, on the same day per week. Okay.
Okay.
And I can talk about what day I picked and why. One day, on the same day. Sometimes you have to vary it, but generally one day. You can inject either in your stomach, on your arm, or on your thigh.
Okay.
I vacillated between injecting on my thigh and on my stomach. There was a school of thought that if you injected in your belly, that it would enter your bloodstream faster than if you
Mm.
injected on your upper arm. It's very easy. It's just like another pen that you might take if you have certain intravenous medications, or like if you have, I mean, God forbid, MS or some cancer drugs, where you have this plastic pen and you take off the top, and then you've got this needle, and you use an alcohol wipe, and you wipe the area, and you click the pen to the on position, and then you hit it. There's a prick, and then you dispose of the pen in, one of those recyclable red, I don't know what they're called.
And so, does it matter if you've eaten or not, or is
No,
it
not
better
really.
in the morning, in the evening? Doesn't matter. None of that matters.
It mattered to me because the day has always mattered to me. What do I mean by
Okay.
that? I just gambled when I started it, and I decided to inject on a Saturday. And why did I do that? Because I felt like if I'm going to have side effects that were going to impede me from doing my job. At the same time I went on the drug, there was the beginning of the Reddit community. And the Reddit community 3 years ago was learning as they went along. And in fact, a lot of these people knew more than the physicians that were giving out the
Mm,
drug, because they were
okay.
sharing their own experiences. So I would always inject on a Saturday, and
Okay.
I tended to inject in the morning. It's a side effect that was always, always consistent. The first 24 to 36 hours after an injection, I would get incredibly tired, to the point
Interesting.
where I needed, like, I couldn't push through it with coffee. And I can almost push anything through with coffee, but I couldn't. Coffee did helped a little, but it would be very typical for me on a Sunday afternoon to say, I got to take a nap. And so that's 24 hours later. And I'd be like taking a nap, really during the winter time in New York,
Mm,
where it's like darker earlier.
yeah.
Um, and I would sleep for like 4 hours. What's funny about that is that it would happen every single time. But on the second day, like Monday, when I'm working, I would have more energy than I've had in years. If you ever venture in this area, you'll find people have very different types of, I mean, the gastro stuff is pretty consistent, and I can talk about that as applied to me, but I've heard some people describe this with me, like what I have experienced, but not a lot. But that never went away, ever.
So three days later,
Yep.
you'd run
Well,
out of
2 days,
energy.
2 to 3 days later.
2 to 3 days later, but the next day, tons of energy,
Yeah, so, like, on a Monday afternoon or Tuesday, I would just be, like, running. Didn't need a nap, nothing at work
and
could
then
slow
run
me
out of
down.
gas.
Nope,
Interesting. Huh.
and it's
Yeah.
been
That
so weird, and nobody can tell me why, but the exhaustion or the need for sleep could never be overcome. Like, I couldn't fight through it.
Yeah, like you say, even coffee couldn't get you through
Nothing,
it, which
nothing.
is an insane amount of caffeine. So that is interesting. Like you wonder what the body was up
Yep.
to make it want to, go into that type of exhaustion. And you said you didn't get the nausea or anything like that.
Okay, so here we go.
Okay.
As I will tell you, the highest dose I ever took,
Yeah.
and again, this was on ZepBound, because ZepBound is the same drug as Monjaro,
Hmm.
but it's titrated differently. So the
Yep.
highest I ever went, and again, if you talk to somebody who takes Wegovy, they have different levels. I could not speak to that. Monjaro / ZepBound starts at 2.5. That's the loading dose. basically it just sets you up. It doesn't really do anything. Then it's 5, then it's 7.5, then it's 10, then it's
Okay,
12.
so these are all the different, because when I hear people say they raised my dose, they
Right,
lowered my dose.
right,
Okay, got you.
right. So
Okay,
it's 2.5, which basically is get started, but don't expect any weight loss. 5, 7.5, 10, 12.5, and 15.
okay,
The highest dose I ever took was one box of 12.5. At that one box of 12.5, I did get nauseous for like a couple of days, to the point where I was like, no, I can't. Even if it would accelerate, what it did was took more of my desire to eat away from me, but it wasn't now at all worth the trade off and the nausea for the first 3 days. No way.
you know what? That actually makes sense to me because too much of anything with a high dose of, say, caffeine, or if it's too much alcohol or whatever, right? You get nauseous. It's just too much for your body. So it may not be the drug itself. It may be the strength or the dose of the drug that makes you nauseous.
So what's fascinating is there are people who still have access to the drug even though they've hit goal weight. And as a matter of maintenance are still taking either every week or every other week 15. I can't imagine for
Ooh.
the life of me doing that. But there are people out there who do that. Most of those people started out, speaking gender wise, as women over 300 pounds. During the course of my treatment, I vacillated between 7.5, and 10. And
Okay.
my sweet spot was 7.5, always. In the beginning, people were very frustrated if they didn't lose like 12 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
15 pounds in a
Mm-hmm.
month.
And the GLP-1 nurse, she said 3 to 4 pounds is what's normal on the
Right.
drug. Your weight loss can't keep up with your nutrition. You know, that rapid weight loss, your skin is just like, it's like draining all the life out of you in a
So
very short amount of time.
I just came back from Scottsdale, Arizona, and had
Yes.
a laser treatment again by Dr. Curran Lal. The first time I ever was treated by him for anything, I
Mhm.
was very heavy. When I started going on the drug and he knew about it, and I'm like, my hair is falling out. And so he put me on minoxidil 2.5, I forget what it's milligrams or whatever. It's a teeny tiny pill. And to this day, I take it. Now I'm postmenopausal too, so bear
Okay.
that in mind. But when I was losing the hair, it was really the first 6 to 8 months, maybe
Okay.
6. And he assured me, he's like, this is not specific to a GLP. It just because you're losing weight and you're losing weight consistently. It will level out. You will get your hair back.
Yeah, he's absolutely right because it's more tied to the nutrition and the rapid
Correct.
weight loss more
Correct.
so than the GLP. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we talked about me being tired after the
Yep.
first 24 to 48 hours. The other one was if I ate a fatty steak or a heavy fatty hamburger, let's use In and Out, right? Because you guys have In and Out. That would be out as fast as it was in. That's all I can say.
So let me ask you as a final question, if you had to go back to the very beginning, what advice would you give yourself?
Have no expectation that you're going to lose weight quickly. That slow and steady wins the race. I need to give a shout out to my trainer. I go to a place called Balance Health Fitness in Seaford, New York. If you're on the South Shore of Long Island, go there. I'm a great believer in because people do talk about this, the loss of muscle
Yes.
mass and tone. Weight training is key. They will help define your body as your body is going through changes. And
Yes, absolutely.
the
Hmm.
final thing would be accept your form. What I mean by that is, um, I think I said at the top that I lost 52, 53 pounds. My body sort of said, that's it, we're happy here. And I have relatively big hips. I have a medium sized frame, and that's who I am. Don't expect it to change your skeletal structure. It's not going to.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
um really, it's not just any kind of weight loss doctor, it's all the doctors
Mhm.
that you may interact with. And thankfully, people, the one area we did not talk about is body dysmorphia. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
people,
and I was leading into that when we were talking about the Ozempic phase because I have clients who are on this, whether they admit it or not. I know they are, and you look, I'm a smaller frame person at 5'1", 100 and what, 9 pounds. And somehow you're now the same weight as me, but you're like 5'6", 5'7". And your skin is just hanging off of your bones, and you still keep using this probably at that highest dosage that you talked about because it happens so fast.
right.
You lost 25, 30 pounds in a month. Like, whoa, it just looks, I wonder, because yeah, okay, you can get into a pair of jeans and or clothes that you wish you could wear that you never could before. I got that. That's fine. However, your face, you don't look healthy.
Yeah, but it's how you embrace that. Like, again,
Mm-hmm.
that's the point about body dysmorphia. When people talk to me, they're like, "Oh my God, Angela, you lost so much weight." And I'm like, "Yep, but the point is, I've said this for 3 years. I'm normal now. All I ever
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be was normal, not necessarily skinny." And so I do think that there are some people that use this to recreate it, to create an image that is not realistic any
Mm-hmm.
more than it's realistic to say, I'm going to be on 4 pens because I have a wedding coming up in a month.
Mm-hmm.
That was never
Mm-hmm.
going to be, that was never part of my equation. I was over 200
Yeah.
pounds and I was unhealthy.
Yeah, and I
So,
think that that's who it benefits most. I've never been against anyone who, the risk is higher by you not taking the drug, right? Versus the ones who, for the wedding, 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds. I think that's manageable with exercise and diet. I truly do, unless you have another comorbidity that,
right.
yeah, that lends you to needing to take this drug. I got that part.
I
So,
will
yeah,
also
go on.
say that my blood work consistently, I can be off of blood pressure medication. I'm still on it, but if I miss a day, it's not affecting my numbers.
That's
My
amazing.
A1C went from 5.9 to 5.3 or 5.4, depending upon when my blood is drawn. My triglycerides totally crashed. I was in, I guess, the 300s, and now I'm like under 100. My yes, I'm on a statin, but my cholesterol, my total cholesterol has gone down. And as I said, the A1C, which was the measure that I was most concerned about, that went went to normal. And
And
I
that's that
that's
pre-diabetic number.
pre-diabetic,
Okay.
and that's the
Yeah.
marker.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and had I gone into diabetes, I would have been on the drug forever. But the final point is I truly hope that more companies are going to cover this drug because, and that the medical complex comes up with what is maintenance, because it will serve so many people over a long period of time. And we're not there yet. I,
Right.
you know, these employers don't want to cover it, which is stupid, because, and I'm not going to name mine, because I don't need knee replacement. There was a period of time when they thought I might. So
Mm.
wouldn't you rather have someone who has 50 pounds less putting pressure on your osteoarthritis knees so you don't have to pay for the knee replacement for the employee? Wouldn't you rather do that
Makes sense to
than
me.
shelling out whatever it is for coverage for the drug? Um, some companies, I'm talking about private employers. Some private employers are doing a combination now where if you're non-diabetic, you can get on they'll pay for the drug, but you have to go to a nutritionist and you have to, or they do some teledoc thing where you weigh in, You demonstrate that you're losing weight. You demonstrate that your BMI is still high enough for you to continue to take it. So it's a combination of accountability plus the drug. And sadly, my company doesn't cover it at all. Now we'll see under open enrollment whether they're going to reopen it. But it was so
Mm.
popular at my company that 15% of the US workforce, 15% of the US workforce that was non-diabetic was on it. And so, yeah, I'm upset
Yeah,
by
that's a shame, actually. That is, yeah. I mean, when you live in a capitalistic country, money is in the forefront.
that.
So
Right.
we all know that, right? Because
Yep.
the GLP-1 nurse, she was sharing with me, maybe on camera, maybe off, that you could replace 5 different medications with this
Yep.
one drug, but they won't approve that. So it's a shame, really. I hope
Yep.
we get there someday.
I do
Yeah.
too. So I
Angela,
really
thank you so
appreciated this
much for sharing your story. And I know on the screen here, we all see notes on maturity.
maturity.
Can you
Yes,
talk a little bit about that venture you're
sure.
involved with?
So it's kind of a combination of inspirations over the last 3 years, and the I'm going to be starting both a Substack as well as another IG page, not my own personal one, on it's a takeoff notes on maturity, notes being perfume notes, maturity being a mature person. And so the topics I want to cover the things that I've learned that have brought me to a much more healthy place all around in my 60s than I personally anticipated. So the topics that will be covered will be um, one, retirement security, particularly female financial retirement security, because I am a lawyer primarily, and my practice area is on in retirement products and retirement issues. So I've been practicing a very long time, and I um, am very I'm an advocate for financial and particularly retirement independence and preparedness. So that's topic one. The other one is caregiving, because I was a caregiver to my mom, and my life changed in my 40s because I was a caregiver for her when she became disabled. And then um, sort of skincare, wellness, and then finally my hobby, which is perfume collecting. And
Yeah,
and
I was going to
and the
mention that.
joy
That's
and the
awesome.
joy that it brings me. So yeah, so be on the lookout. I'll let you know so you can let your followers and channel
100%.
subscribers in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because
it's kind of a mishmash. But I think that particularly with retirement issues, I got married much later in life. A lot of women are not prepared, or my mother was a young widow. She was a widow at 53. I got married much later in life. But I was always preparing because she was a young widow, and because it was the practice area of law that I knew that I entered into. I was always attuned to saving and being ready if and when I retire, which I will. How fast, I don't know, but it'll happen. And so that I wouldn't be caught off guard, that I wouldn't be dependent upon anyone else. And I'm happily married, and I love my husband very much, but I did the work, or I'm doing the work. Still
good for
not done.
you. And we all need that education. And I like all 4 things that you're doing, because, like me, for the second time, I got married at 50. I was single for 12 years before that, right? And then when you join, your lives mature, finances look very different.
Exactly.
Parenting looks different. The way you live your everyday life, because you've been commander in chief of your whole world, and you have to bring those 2 worlds together. That's not easy, especially for women. And sometimes I know it just depends on if you're more of an independent woman versus one that would be more submissive, if you will, because some women are. I know nobody likes to say it, but they are. And the other thing is the aging parents, and how that
Yeah,
piece comes into play. And all of your wisdom, anything you can share. It sounds like that it is all wrapped up into a nice little bow. And I'm sure my audience will appreciate that, because one of the things that I aim to do with this show is just to inspire the next generation, not only the next generation, but any enthusiast of beauty. And that encompasses health, right? Beauty and health, I believe, are directly related. And those two things are two things that I enjoy. So that would include fashion. It includes, I don't care what type of beauty professional you are. Again, the GLP-1 nurse, that is tied directly to beauty, because a lot of people take these shots for self-esteem, just for self-worth. It all matters. And that's what this show is all about. So thank you for coming on.
I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to really share this story, because I've told this story in pieces to my closest and nearest, and also to people, friends of mine who've asked me about this more recently, and people that I know in the last year who've gone on the drug, and they don't even, they sort of don't know where to begin in terms of their approach. And they knew that I was on it, so they've approached me, but I've never spoken about it in a public way. So thank you so much for that. I really, truly appreciate this
No,
opportunity.
and thank you for being candid, because you talked about what everybody wants to know, but a lot of people are too uh, prideful to share. And you being vulnerable and open, I appreciate you. Thank you for that. But
All right.
Angela, this is also a show meant for fun, lightheartedness, and nobody gets out of here without my rapid fire. So are you
Go for
ready?
it.
If you could jump into a pool full of anything, what would it be full of?
Perfume.
What's the funniest superpower you can think of?
The funniest soup that I have.
hmm Or that you would want, something you don't have. Or
Um,
what is your superpower? Let's ask you that way. What do you think your
resilience.
superpower is?
Resilience.
Resilience. I love that. Would you rather have uncontrollable this is meant to be funny. Would you rather have uncontrollable farting or uncontrollable hiccuping?
The second. Coming back from Arizona, I hadn't had this in a long time. The guy in front of me, and it's a 4-hour flight. The guy in front of me the whole time. Oh Lord!
Had
And I was,
uncontrollable the first one?
yes, and I hadn't had that. I don't even know. I got off the plane, and I told my husband, I'm like, oh my God, I was
That
losing
is
it. I had
the
to.
worst. If you could erase one color from existence, which one would it be?
Brown.
What's your favorite fictional food from a movie or TV show? What's your favorite food? Period. Let's just
My
say
favorite
there.
food easily is pasta, without a doubt.
Perfect. What was the first movie you remember seeing in theaters?
This just came up with my husband. The first movie I ever remembered probably was, and this is really going to age me, Mary Poppins, which was every little kid's
I
birthday
love
party.
that movie. That
Yeah,
movie,
but it was everybody's little kid birthday party in 1965.
yes, it was.
Or Bambi, which scared the living Jesus
Yes.
out of me. So I think it was Mary Poppins, though.
All right, Angela, what's the weirdest thing you own?
Oh God, yeah, oh God, I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, but I'm gonna go for it. One of my relatives, another cousin, gave me for my wedding. It was like an ossified snail that you could find in in the petrified forest.
All right, what's the luckiest thing that's ever happened to you?
I would say either my first law job, because my family to keep the house because my dad had died,
Oh.
or meeting my husband. Both of those,
Aw,
they're equivalent.
I love that. Okay, what's the most questionable haircut or fashion moment you've ever had?
Oof, yeah, okay. Fashion moment, probably I wore a dress to a formal outing at a law firm I worked at in the late 80s, and this paralegal who was about half my size wore the exact same dress and castigated me for wearing the same thing. So I don't know why that flashed in my brain, but yeah.
What's a conspiracy theory you actually believe?
Oh my God, this is controversial, but I'm going to go there. The mRNA elements of the vaccine can cause illness of various types.
And lastly, tell us about a habit you are proud of breaking.
Biting my nails.
You're amazing, Angela. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And I
Thanks.
will be subscribing to Notes of Maturity and sharing that with my audience. I appreciate you and everything you're doing and for coming on the show and being so open
So
with
much
your
fun.
weight loss
So
journey.
much
Yes,
fun.
I'll
Thank
definitely have you back on again. I have a feeling.
Okay, cool. I'm really, really looking forward to it. And I'm a big YouTube watcher. And I should be more of a podcaster, but I'm a big YouTube watcher. So I'm gonna go deep into the videos, and I think I subscribed already, but I'm gonna look at, who you've interviewed in the span of it. So
Absolutely.
thank you for commenting on my video. Well, not my video, but Dr. Law's reel, and having to have me look up what a G was. I should have known it already. My stepdaughter said, "Come
That's
on."
right.
So, but I really appreciate it. So take care, and I look forward to viewing this when it goes up.
Absolutely. All righty. Until next time, have an amazing day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.